Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is where you're watching. I am Maren Costa, host of the Unapologetically Maren the Cornbread Chronicles podcast. We have a special guest here with us today, someone that I met through TikTok a year ago and love her to death. If you follow her on TikTok, her name is Marissa. She's an amazing live host. She's also a TikTok shop affiliate. She's also an RN, a wife, just an amazing, amazing woman. But she has a story that she would like to share with us. And Marissa, I'm going to turn the floor over to you to start and just introduce yourself.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. And my name is Marissa. I am 32 from Texas. I have been a nurse for 14 years, or actually going on 14 years. I started my TikTok journey 11 months ago. So we are almost hitting that 1 year mark. And
Yes.
my room is based off of positivity and mental health because I did lose a parent to mental health, and I've seen my mom also go through mental health as a freshman in high school. So one of the things we say is you just never really know what someone is going through. A smile can hide a million things. And so we just want to be able to spread positivity and, create a safe place for anyone who's going through something in life.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about you were talking about, hold on, I'm going to edit this out. My phone
All the
dropped.
nooks and crannies.
I'm like, oh my God, hold on, let me get my phone back on the stand. God. Okay, back. So tell us a little bit about, you said you had lost a family member through mental health. So what happened with that, and how did you cope with that?
Yeah, so I feel like it all started. So when I was a freshman in high school, my mom went through a really, really bad depression. She actually, I think I was in actually, let's see, maybe eighth grade when my mom went through her first depression, and she was just in a very, very dark place, and it was hard to see. She got through it. She took her, went through meds and everything and got through it, and then in 2015, I feel like this is kind of where it all started too, for me anyways. My grandma got sick, and I thought my grandma was going to live to be 90. I thought I was
Yeah.
going to care for her, for, this tiny little old lady, and, do all the
Hmm.
things for her. And that wasn't the case. She was actually the first one to go in 2015. And I just remember her last words being, have faith. She was a God-fearing woman, and she was the rock that held everyone together. She held everyone together. And when she died, I felt like the family just kind of,
Yeah,
everything fell apart.
I can relate
She
to that.
was she was the glue,
Yes,
right? And
the
my
matriarch.
yes, yes, absolutely. And my dad was, he did everything for them. For my grandma, my grandpa, he was the rock. He was the breadwinner. He worked in the oil field for years, maybe 15 or 16 years. And so he spent most of his our lives working. He'd work 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and he was, when he was home, we were always out and about doing this and that. And when my grandma died, it took, I mean, he was already going through mental health as a senior in high school, also in his high school years. And that just kind of took a turn for everybody. Can you see me okay? Because I see you really glitchy.
Oh no, you're perfect.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So that happened, and we just life kind of went on. We learned to live with the loss of it took a very, very, it took a hard toll on a lot of us. Like I said, we didn't, it was unexpected. She came down with pneumonia, ended up in the hospital, and she just never came out. And then my grandpa got sick. He in 3 years later. 3 years later, he started battling issues with colon cancer and in and out of the hospital. And he had a 3-month hospital stay where he never came out either. So he ended up passing away, and then that just kind of hit harder, right? We had just lost my grandma in 15, and then my grandpa passed in 18. So we were still trying to grieve the loss of my grandma, and I felt like we just never got to completely grieve for her, and then that happened. Um, and so it took a toll on a lot of us. And at the time, I was also in a bad relationship. And after my grandpa passed away, I was living in his house with my ex, now my ex. And then he he was just a narcissistic sociopath. He was just into drugs and left me in a lot of debt. And he was just he ruined every single holiday, every birthday, every celebration. And I feel like I lived with resentment. I hated him, you know. I could never get the time back with my grandpa that I had. And then same thing with my dad. My ex and my dad, they hated each other, or maybe disliked. Hate is a very,
Yeah.
very strong word.
Right.
Right. And
Sounds like you're
so
talking about my ex too. This whole dynamic is exactly my ex too.
yes. And it sounds like I'm all over the place. Help me get into place.
No,
I
you're
feel like
good,
it's
girl.
just okay, okay. So we lived in my grandparents' home for about a year until I finally got my own house. Or we ended up moving into my ex's house because my ex didn't like being there. But, he'd go out and party while he'd leave me at home. And, and his mom would kind of be like, well, where's this person? And I'm like, well, he's out with his friends. And it just made me feel dumb, right? Like, why am I here? Why am I here while he's out doing this? But if I go out and do this, he's going to be so mad, and it's just going to cause an argument, right? So I ended up getting a job. I was actually working in a nursing home at the time, and I got a second job because I was determined to make this money to get a house.
Yeah.
And I worked my ass off. I would work night shift in the nursing home, and I was working, I'd go in at 6 p.m., no, 10 p.m. and come out at 6 a.m. And then I would go home, shower, take a 2 hour nap, and go into the second job at 8 a.m. And I did that for about 6 months until I was able to save up enough money to put on a house. And one day I was driving to my second job on my way to see my next patient, and I ran a stop sign. I'd fallen asleep behind, just snoozed real quick
Yeah.
behind the wheel because I was so exhausted. I was working literally nonstop. And that was when I knew, like, it's not worth it. So I left one job, ended up working another until I could save enough to finally put a payment down on the house. And what was supposed to be one of the best days of my life, reaching that milestone and getting my own house was ruined by my ex because I didn't want to put his name on the lease or on the mortgage.
Yeah.
And I knew that if I did that, I probably wouldn't have my house today because he was just one of those, like, I'm taking, and he was
Yes.
never the one to put back in there. Um, so he ruined a lot of things for me. And I just lived with so much hurt and so much hate in my heart. And I was, when my grandma passed, I was mad. I was mad at God. Why did God take this God-fearing woman? He took her first, right? I was just so mad. And I feel like going back to TikTok, it has, I've met so many people that have gone through the same things and just kind of helped me find the way again.
Yeah.
And they're yeah,
And believe it or not, there's a like TikTok's done that for a lot of us. I mean, just
yeah,
the way social media is today, you can meet so many different kinds of people from all different walks of life, but who have experienced so many similar things as we have. And as long as
right,
we're here to talk about it and we're open with each other and, you know, we help each other get through it and we can help other
right,
people cope and deal with that are going through it right now, and
right. Hmm.
so TikTok can be a good thing.
It can be. There's also a dark side to it. I think we've
Yes,
all kind
yes,
of,
yes.
been through that ringer as well. But going back to traveling, so I left that relationship in 21, and I started traveling in 21. And I was still in a bad head place, and I went down a bender and I started drinking, and that was my escape. because I didn't want to feel anything. I lost my grandma, my grandpa, my dad within a 4-year period, and I couldn't deal with it. I was mad at my ex for taking me, and it was my choice too, right? I wanted to please him. And so I didn't talk to my family for about a year, and I lived with so much hate that I couldn't get the time back because they were gone.
Yeah.
They were gone, and I couldn't get it back. So that was my escape. Um I was drinking a lot because it would numb everything, but the next morning I would wake up in a panic. What did I do? What kind of stupidity did I do last night, right? And what's going to happen today? And everything was just back. It never went away. It was just a temporary fix. And then one night so when I would drink, I would black out to the point where I would just black out,
Same.
and I didn't want to be there anymore. And there was one night that we were in New Mexico. It was my first contract, and I was just trashed to the point where I just woke up and I didn't want to be there anymore. So I went and I grabbed a gun, and I was just ready. And my husband, well, my boyfriend at the time, we weren't married yet. He grabbed it from me. I fell to the floor and I hit my head right here, and I had a gash in my forehead. I had a huge bump. And so the at the time we were staying in a hotel, so they had to call the cops because I was in and out of consciousness. I had passed out in the shower. I was drunk. I was mad. I was just, I didn't want to talk to anyone. So I got transported to the hospital, and I was on holding for, I think it was like 5 hours before I said, I think really they just had me there to sober up.
Yeah.
Um, and so I left AMA, went back to the hospital. I mean, went back to the hotel, and that's when I kind of knew, like, this things have got to change, right? Who I was tired, and God forbid my husband, don't even know how he's still with me today because I put him through so much, and
Same.
he was just, yeah, this God-fearing man that just wanted to be with me so much, but I was already so broken, and he stuck through it and helped me put the pieces together, and here we are, a couple years later, married now. Um, but I feel like there's also a stigma on mental health and healthcare workers, right? Like, we're meant to be the ones to help people and hold them together and, be the strong ones. But at the end of the day, if you're not taking care of yourself, it's hard to take care of other people.
And that's very true. Not a nurse, but I was an HR director in long term care SNF facility for 25 years. So my entire being was hiring nurses and CNAs, medication aides, and um, I got to be the one to hear those stories. I was always the HR that was, I don't want to say the friend because there has to be a boundary line, but sometimes I did cross it on accident because I'm such an empathetic, compassionate person. But I would tell them, you have to take care of you so that you can take care of them. You have to
Right.
be, you have to, but it's so hard. There's so much pressure on you guys with not even just what's going on in your personal lives and your personal mental health, but short staffing is so crazy, and work burnout and the stress that you guys are put under. And
Definitely.
especially I know, like in long-term care, our nurse to patient ratio was just not what I would think it should be. And it's hard to give care to 40 residents at one time, you being the only charge nurse on that unit. So, I mean, y'all go through a lot,
Right.
so your mental health takes a toll. And so you just have to
Really
figure out
does.
ways to de-stress and ways to really take care of yourself and allow others to help do that with you. So I'm so glad you had your husband for that.
Yeah, like I said, I give him all the props in the world because if it was me, I would have been out.
Yeah.
Actually not, because I put up with so much crap with my last relationship. We were together for 6 years. And it's just one of those things, right? Maybe he'll change. Maybe
Yeah.
he'll change, and he'll change chance after chance after chance until one day I just woke up and I just didn't feel anything. I think I was at a point where I knew I needed to do for myself. And I just said, like, we're done. I felt nothing when I told him that. I felt I felt nothing. I was numb. And it's like sometimes I'll even tell my husband like there's just things that I don't feel emotion sometimes, and it's scary because in the beginning he wanted to be with me so bad, and I felt like I didn't have the love to give that I didn't have the love to give that he deserved because
Yes.
I was numb. I just couldn't feel anything. And there's still some days that I feel like that, and I'll tell him like I just don't feel anything. I don't feel scared, I don't feel hurt, I don't feel love, and it's scary. And he'll say, you have a lot of love to give, but you've just been through so much that you tend to put those walls up. And we've been married now for 3 years, going on four, and sometimes I feel like those walls are still up. And it sucks because
Yes.
you want to be able to let all of that go and just be happy, and
Yes.
sometimes it's hard.
It is hard because we have to really, really learn to love ourselves and forgive ourselves so that we can give all that love to them. I find myself asking my husband all the time, why are you married to me? You are the most
Same.
amazing man that I have ever met. You're so caring, so compassionate, so intelligent, so driven. Why this broken woman? And he was like, first of all, I know you. I know your heart. I know what you've been through. I know. I'm like, don't just love my potential. You have to love me where I'm at. He's like, I do. And I
Yeah.
went, part of my story, I as well went into the drinking thing and from stress from work. Mine was stress from work. And I literally became a social drinker to an alcoholic in 3 months. And in December 2024, my husband put me in rehab. And I thought,
Yeah.
he's not going to be there when I get out in 30 days. But that man, he's not allowed to see me. You can't have visitors in rehab. But that man came to that facility every day with a handwritten letter, either my favorite snack or like a teddy bear or something,
Mhm.
and gave it to the office to bring to me every single day. And then when I started kind of making friends at rehab that I would write him back and tell him about, he would send them things too because they didn't have families that were supporting them while they were
Wow.
there. And I'm like, who is this man? You
Right.
know?
It's hard to accept the good when all you're used to is just bad,
Yes. Yes.
all the negative. Yeah, same thing with my husband too. I put him through so much,
Hmm.
so much, and he's still here today.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. And even when
And
I'm in my mood and not feeling the best, he's still there.
mine too. We just kind of look out there. And we have
Hmm.
to learn to forgive ourselves because one thing that you said that I relate to is you were so mad at your ex because you lost so much time, with your family that you can't get back. What my biggest regret that I have to hold in my heart is that I was with my ex for 6 years too, and horrible abusive relationship. We never had hardly ever had sex, and those were my baby making years.
Oh
And
yeah.
so by the time I got with Chris, I was 39 years old and I have no children. And I've always
Hmm.
thought was going to be a mom. I thought I was going to be the first friend of our group that had a baby because I'm like the mother of the group and have loved my nieces and nephews. But he took away
All
those
those
years.
years.
But I allowed it to happen. I stayed because I kept thinking I can make it better. I can change him. And so now I have to live with knowing that, if I may never have kids. I'm in my 40s now, so look, I'm pretty
Hmm.
sure I'm not going to have them naturally. But we talk adoption, and we're still not. He's
Yeah.
39, so I mean we still have plenty of years left on this world to adopt. So we're
Hmm.
thinking about doing that pretty soon because I ain't getting any younger. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
forgiving
We
yourself.
also struggle with that too. I have PCOS
Me
and
too.
all that. And so my husband and I have done two IUIs, and that's another thing too that it just you can't help but question God, right? Like,
Yes.
why does he allow these people who don't deserve to have children? You know,
Yes.
they abuse their kids, they do this and they do that. And here you have someone trying to have kids so bad and it just doesn't happen for you.
Yeah.
And so it's
Someone
hard,
trying so
to,
hard that would be a wonderful mom. I mean, me
yeah,
and you as well. I mean, you just, yeah, it makes
yeah,
you question things, but we have a purpose and it's things are going to
right.
happen and on, on his time. And I know you're going to be a mom no matter how it
All
happens.
his time.
It's
Yeah,
going to be on his time. Cause I mean, it's something that you definitely deserve.
right, right.
So,
So I guess we can talk a little bit about why I started TikTok.
yes.
So, started traveling in 21. You know, that was the first assignment was in Albuquerque, and my boyfriend, which is my husband now at the time, was able to travel with me. And then we came out to Missouri. I've been in Missouri on and off for about 4 years now. And so the last 2 years, he's not been able to travel with me anymore because my contracts were temporary. And he's not, he was having to quit work and then go back home and find a new job. And this
Right.
time around, he had a really good job. So we told him, we kind of sat and talked and said, it's probably not the best thing for you to quit because chances are if we come back or when we come back, because we are coming back, this job won't be here anymore for you. So he stays home now, and last year was the first year that I started traveling on my own. And I just felt like I was losing touch with reality. I was just
Okay.
going to sleep, waking up, not wanting to wake up because I knew I was just going to go to work and wake up to an empty house. And it was just me and Gunner. Gunner is my dog. Everyone knows Gunner on TikTok.
Yes, we
He's
love
the star of
Gunner.
the show. Yes. So I'd wake up, go to work, come home, chart, go to sleep, wake up, and it was just it was just a cycle. That's all. I felt like I was just there to work and that's it. And so I came across, I think it was Mama B might have been the first live stream that I saw. And she also has a story too to tell. And I'm like, oh, what is this lady doing? I didn't know there was anything to TikTok other than scrolling the streets
Scrolling through
and
funny
crying and
memes and yeah.
laughing like a lunatic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she started talking about how TikTok changed her life, not only mentally, but financially and all the things. And I said, well, this is probably something that I'll do. I initially wanted to do TikTok shop, but I didn't realize how much, time and effort it took
Yeah.
into making videos and brainstorming and doing all those things. Now that I look at it, I was just overthinking a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I said, well, if I can go live in the mornings before work and talk to people, then I'll do that. So I started going live, and it was a lot harder than people made it look to be,
Mhm.
especially when you're just getting started and you haven't built that community yet. But after the second week, we had a room drop from Carly, and Carly's friends came out and hung over in the room, and that's when we hit double digits in the room, and there was just people talking about, how to go live and, being nervous. And one of our things
Yeah.
is just do it scared, right? Do it scared, just hit the live button. You never know who you're going to meet on the app. And so here we are, almost a year into going live.
And you are
Uh,
one of the best on there. You are what I wake up to with my coffee in the morning every morning.
Coffee with Marissa.
Coffee
Yeah,
with Marissa.
people will say, I set an alarm for you, Marissa, to come and see you in the mornings, or you're my playlist in the morning. And
Yeah, you really
it's
are.
amazing to see, yeah, the amount of people that you meet. And it's just, like I said, I started it to as an outlet, but it's
Yes.
become so much more.
Yeah.
I've met, Alyssa. I got to meet Alyssa in Nashville with another three friends that don't really go live anymore. But we got to meet in Nashville and have a girls weekend out,
Mhm.
and hopefully able to meet a couple of other people that I've really connected with on the app, like Savvy and Mike
Yeah.
and all of them. So they've just become a lot closer than just social media. We
Right.
all have been through the ringer and a lot of trials and tribulations and ups and downs, and I feel like if you're not on social media, you don't really know what comes with it.
Yeah.
People just think like, oh, there's a sad video, there's a funny video, and but there's so much more to it as a live streamer. So you got to deal with the goods and the bads and the
And there
people
may
in your
be a lot of
inboxes and
bads going on right now, but I'm telling you what, from the
mhm
outside of someone who's not a big live host like you, what I have seen lately, besides the drama, is the
mhm
joining of communities.
mhm
See, usually I go to my favorite, live host rooms. I have my certain ones I go to every day, but you don't ever really see all the other big live hosts in their rooms. I mean, they do their own thing and then they have to go live their life. But seeing all of y'all support each other,
yeah
going into, let's say, Johnny Vibes' room, and you're going to pop in, and Kat's going to pop in, and Tori's going to pop in, and
mhm
Savvy's going to
it's
pop in.
about
And the
community. Yeah,
community right now is really, really, really good. At least ours,
yeah.
some of the ones that we're involved in. I mean, I love seeing that right now and helping each other because I'm, like we said, had to kind of go to battles or whatever is going, changing things and
Mhm.
pivoting, but y'all are doing
Yeah,
it together. That
we
was
are.
like,
And that's the beauty of it. It's just you meeting people throughout the app, but also just going in and supporting, learning what they're about and why they're on the platform and learning their
yeah,
stories and their struggles and their wins and celebrating
yeah,
together, whether it's good or bad.
yeah. And
Yeah.
most of them do share their stories because almost all of them do have
hmm
one. And I love that. I love
Everyone
the
has a story.
vulnerability.
You
Yeah,
can tell me that you don't have a story, but you
you
do.
have a
What if
story.
and it might
Yeah,
be good, it might be bad, but
right.
everybody has a story.
Yeah, your story may be
Um,
wonderful. You may have been living a really blessed life and you haven't struggled much and
yes,
you were able to bless others. That's a great story. That I was able to
exactly.
bless
Yeah,
others because
right.
I've lived a great life. I mean, your story's your story. None of our stories are the same. None of our journeys are the same. None of our addictions are the same. None of our mental health issues are the same, but they
Right.
all can still be there together as a family and a community and help each other and be there for each other, listen to each other.
Exactly.
Because a lot of us
Yeah.
have family and friends outside of the app, but some of these people don't. And they turn
That's
to,
that too. They turn to
yes,
TikTok and to the people on the app to try to fill that void that they're
yeah.
feeling.
That's why it's so
Yeah.
important to be a positive life host, to be someone who's uplifting and caring, because a lot of people look up to you and you don't even realize that they are.
Yeah.
And,
That's another thing too. It's with the algorithm, of course, like we mentioned before, it goes up, it goes down. There's goods,
mhm,
there's bads. But on the days that are bad is when you'll get a random inbox from a person that you had no idea was
mhm,
even someone that would come and watch you, because sometimes it's hard to catch every
yeah,
single person that comes into your room,
right.
but when you get a message that says I know you're feeling defeated and but just know that you're making more of a difference on this app than and that just makes everything so much worth it, because
Mhm,
you don't realize whose lives you're touching or
yeah,
who's shining that light on someone's day when it's dark, and it's crazy to see.
yeah, it is.
It's
And
amazing.
you'll hear like from for you specifically, like when I was saying that you were going to come on and do the show, so many people were like, "Oh my gosh, I love her. She's so amazing. She inspires me. I can't wait to hear her story." I mean,
Yeah.
I have heard no negative things about you. I hear some negative about some people, but I have actually never heard anything negative about you
Yeah.
on TikTok.
I
So,
just, I know a lot of, yeah, there's just, a lot of people go through things, and
yeah,
why come on a platform and just be negative Nancy, right? When people are going
right.
through so much, it just, I don't know. I already go through so much offside the
That's
app.
what I
Why
was
am I
going to
going to want
say.
to bring
Yeah,
it, to people inside the app and just make them feel more depressed or, I always tell the room to like, just be that light in someone's darkness, because you just never know what someone's going through. Um, Going back to my dad, I always bring it. Well, I bring it up sometimes. Some people know, some people don't know. He, fell into that deep depression. At the time, I was still working my nursing home job, and every Friday it was just a routine. I would get out in the mornings, go and get ready, and I'd take him out just to be able to get out of the house, because
yeah,
he never liked to leave the house. He was just way mentally, he was just not there anymore. He wasn't my dad. And so every Friday we'd go shopping at Walmart. So I'd pick him up, we'd drive out of town and we'd go. And I just remember that day he looked at me, just he was so lost and he was like, "Where's mom?" She'd walk down the aisle to go and find something and he was so scared. Like he just, where's mom? He was just nervous about being around people and doing, getting out of the house. And so most people know that he did commit suicide. I try to be careful with the way I say it on TikTok because, we don't want to
Yeah.
get any
I under,
issues there.
yeah.
Yes. So we drove home that day and it just kind of felt like an off day. And, we were like, well, we're going to go and get some lunch, and then we'll be back. Do you want to go? No, I'm going to take a nap. I'm tired. So we left to go get food. And then we came back down the road and his truck doors were open. And we're like, oh, look, dad, he got out of the house. He's cleaning his
Yeah.
truck or something. By that time, we thought we had already removed all the guns, the knives, the, pills and
Yeah.
everything away from him because he had already barricaded himself in the truck one time and he had a gun and he was, threatening to take his life. And so what we didn't know that there was one in his truck hiding behind the seat. And so when we got there, his doors were open and I just remember pulling up and he was on the ground and I just got out of the truck and I ran to him and he had shot himself and he was lifeless. There was no saving him. He was cold already. And I feel like a lot of I feel like he didn't die instantly because he was in a position that if he would have died instantly, he probably would have been slouched over the truck, and there
Yeah.
was just so much blood everywhere. Um, and he had his hands with his palms up. So my dad was the life of the party, right? He was the life of the party. He was the one that everyone would go to when they needed something, and he was the breadwinner. He worked, he provided, he did everything, and when he couldn't do that anymore, I feel like it just he felt like a failure. And a lot of that took a toll on his mental health too, because he couldn't work. He couldn't bring in what he was bringing in, when he was
Right.
well and able. And so just the thought of him even suffering in that moment, not dying instantly it still kind of goes through my head too. Um, but yeah, he was gone. We had thank God we didn't see on the cameras because we had a Ring camera outside and we just kind of saw where he walked to the truck and fell to the floor. And so that happened. And but like the family is just not the way it used to be when the grandparents were alive too.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing. It's just like I said, he was the life of the party. He laughed. He was a God-fearing man. He begged us to go to church every single Sunday. He'd be the one sitting in the pews every single Sunday. And then here we are again, right? God, why did I begged God over and
Mhm.
over again and over again. Why, why did you? It's hard to question, right?
Yeah.
And the amount of love that we can love a person for them just to be taken away. And it's hard. And I just question God so much. And going back to, meeting people on here that just try to shine the light and say, God he's there. He's going to help you get through it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find I feel like I'm still trying to find my way. And there's just some days that I want to drop to my knees and just scream because I feel like I still have a lot of hurt and it's hard.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I didn't admit this to anyone until not with Brandon, but the podcast before that. But um, I had relapsed off of drinking. I had been going great and wonderful, and things just started happening in life again. And I just didn't. I let it get to me. I didn't do what I knew to do. I didn't go to my counselor. I didn't talk about it with my husband. I just And I do have mental health, I have bipolar and I have borderline personality disorder on top of anxiety and ADD. So it's already
Mm.
hard to deal. I mean, especially with borderline personality disorder, that's a very complicated, you know,
Yeah.
disorder to have. And I started drinking again and I was hiding it. I was even, I mean, I was still doing my podcast, but I was drinking. My husband didn't know, and he lives here. My parents didn't know, but finally it was like, what are you doing? Stop. Like you can't do this to yourself. You're doing great things right now and you're
Right.
going to
You've
have
already
bad
come so
days.
far.
Yeah, you've came so far and it's like, stop right now. And I did. And then I felt the need. I had to tell on myself. So I let my husband know. I let my mom know because my mom's like my best friend, and we live like on a family compound because my parents own like 100 acres of land, and they kind of deeded some to some of their, sorry, to us kids. So we kind of all live on the same property. And
Hmm.
so I told them too, because they're always so proud and talking to everybody about my recovery, and it's like, but I'm not perfect, but it's stop it now and ask for help. And I had to do that and back to greatness now. And that's kind of why I was off the app. If you didn't see me
Well, at
in the
least you were
room for
able
a
to
little while.
stop and
Yeah.
recognize, hey, I'm going back down
Yeah.
this hole again, and you knew that you needed help.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so that's what we have to do, no matter what it is. Just find your inner circle, and know that
Yeah.
you can always talk to them. If you need to see a therapist, see a counselor, talk to God, even when we're mad at him. We
Right.
still love him. He still loves us. And we just have to find
Yeah.
whatever is going to work for us. So that outlet. And for me, it's my podcast. This is my therapy because I
Yep.
get
And
to
that's the same thing for me. I'm
with
still
your TikTok.
traveling. I'm
Yes.
still thousands of miles away from my husband. It's me and Gunner. I look forward to getting up. Even on the hard days, I wake up, I'm like, okay, are we doing this today? I'm in my head. Is anybody going to show up? What's going to happen today? And then I hit the go live button and everyone's there.
Yeah.
Everyone's there and it helps you get your day started on a good note. And it's just amazing to see all the community, come together and cheer you up so you can have a better day and tell you that, they're happy that you stayed another day and you showed up another day.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and like we said earlier, you never know when you're doing that for someone
Right.
because we all go to the same rooms for a reason. And it's not just because you got a pretty face. We go to where we feel inspired, where we feel encouraged, where we feel supported, where we have
Exactly.
fun, I mean,
Where you feel
that,
seen
where
and
you feel,
remembered and
yes, that's why, like, and I've
yeah.
got so protective of you and loved you like so much. That's why I was like, okay, you better make me mod because you got some crazy ass people in here and I'm protective of you.
I know.
And let me police this chat, okay? Because I mean,
Yeah.
you've done it for me so many times, waking up in the mornings and not being in the greatest of spirits. And it's just like, grab your coffee and sit down, and I just go into your room. And there you are, all chipper and happy. And, we'll never know what's going on in your head at the time or that you're struggling,
Right.
but you're still there. And just your presence and
Still
your
there, still
attitude.
shedding the light.
Yeah, you are. You always are.
And I just started posting videos about motivation and, people believing in themselves and just,
Mhm.
posting content and just, telling their story. But if I'm being honest, most of those videos are me talking to myself. Get out of your
Yes.
head, Marissa,
Yes.
do what you're telling yourself in these videos. So when I replay them and I'm like, okay, you're telling your people to do this, you have to do this too. It's like my
I
husband
say my
says to me, he's
same
like,
thing to myself.
right. Yeah, like my husband says the same thing. He's like, you can't just quit when the going gets tough. Like you say this to everybody in your life. Take your own advice. I'm like, we are our own worst critics,
Yes, we
right?
are.
Um, and sometimes we can give the best advice and not take it.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
And I'm a cancer, which
But
makes it worse. So,
same here. I'm a Cancer
yes,
too.
because we're so empathetic, but we love everyone, but it's
Yes.
hard to do that for yourself sometimes. But
Yeah,
you have to, and
definitely.
it's worth it. Definitely worth it. So
Yeah.
what are your aspirations going forward? Like with your TikTok, with your nursing, moving back to Texas, we're going to continue to travel, going to settle back down in Texas.
Um, so the reason I don't go or I don't want to go back to work in Texas is because I refuse to work in a workplace where I know I will go back into that dark place.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know, healthcare back home is just not the same.
Hmm.
And not only that, but I drive anywhere between, because I'm a home health nurse, so I drive
Yeah.
anywhere between 2 to 2,500 miles in a 2 week pay period. And just mentally it's and physically it's a lot. And I
Yeah.
feel like, I'm so mad and so frustrated with work that I take it out on the people around me.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I don't know what the plans or what the cards hold for us, but we've been talking about maybe relocating to Missouri so that we can
Okay.
all, my husband can come up here and bring the dogs. And
Yeah.
so that's on the table. We haven't made any final decisions yet,
Yeah.
but that's what we're talking about. I love working up here. The healthcare system here is, I feel like, is much better. The agency that I work for, the colleagues are great. The patients actually need care.
Yeah.
Um, and it just, I don't know, I like it. I like the area that I'm in. So we're talking about that. And then as far as TikTok, well, we're just gonna keep pushing and
Yeah.
showing up for the community and rolling with the punches and riding the waves, like we say.
And putting people like me in predicaments because uh
Mm.
my yesterday, for example, uh I go to Dre's room every day, and he was battle prepping. I
Uh-huh.
was like, okay, I'm in here. I'll do his battle. I didn't know who he was battling, nothing about it. But I'm getting power. I got a bunch of power ups. I had like 3 gloves and a lightning bolt, so I have to be there on Dre's battle. And then I saw it was 4, and the other was Jen. Well, I'm a Jen
Uh-huh.
Gager. The other
Oh my
was
gosh.
the other was Corinne. I have power ups in Corinne's room too because I'm like really big into
Maren.
ASMR, like really big into ASMR. Before she even
Yeah.
started doing her battling thing, I've been in like the dinosaur in my name is
Uh-huh.
from Corinne. So
Oh
I
my
got the
gosh.
flower. Actually, I
You
don't
were
even know.
torn. You probably go from room to room to room to room.
I had to. I was like, what do I
Oh
do?
my
I have
gosh.
no idea. And then I was like, I don't want them to know. So, which doesn't matter. They all want you to support each other. But I was like,
Right.
going over there, throwing a glove in Dre's room. And then, crap, I got to go over here because I got a miss for Corinne's room. I was just laughing because my people are all supporting each other and I'm supporting the
Yeah.
same people. So I was just dying laughing. That's like when I went into your room and, I had just was in battle prep room with Dre, and then I was like, who? And then I went into your room and saw about 2-on-2 with Asian scrubs or whatever. And I was like, nah, what the heck?
Uh-huh.
I
I know. I
was
told Dre. I asked him yesterday. I said, "Do you want to battle prep or do you want to do a 2v2 with Savvy?" He's like, I'll try. I don't know what I have for you, but I'll try." And then he came in this morning and he's like, "Are we still doing 2v2?" I'm like, "Dre, don't go finding Tyler River or someone, okay? Take it easy on us." And then Louise says, "Okay, you're battling Amira." I'm like, "What do you mean?" So he ended up picking Amira. Amira's been out there battling,
forever.
doing her thing, crushing it out
Yes.
there. So we're in trouble, chat, but it was, the
But it's
community
been
came together
fun.
and it
Yes.
was fun.
And I'm
Yeah.
so glad
And
the
that's how it
community
should
is
be.
coming together with all the battles because at first, when everyone started pivoting that way, I was worried that a
Yeah.
lot of my big live creators were going to lose a lot of fan base because a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
don't like to battle. But it seems like everyone is still doing their thing and supporting. I mean, if you're going to be gifting anyway, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, gift during the battle. It's going to give them more points or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. I
Yeah.
think they're fun, but I was kind of worried at first for you guys that it might kind of
Yeah, because I'm not a battler. I
right.
refused to battle. I've been going live for 11 months now, and I've probably before we started doing the series on Fridays, I've probably battled about 3 times. I had a graduation battle. I had one against Alyssa, and then I can't remember the other one. Those were actually scheduled battles
Yeah.
because I don't like them. They stress me out. They give
They
me
stress me out.
anxiety. Yes, and I don't like to do it. So I'm like, okay, if they want us to pivot, then we'll try it out on Fridays. But it's been all fun, you know.
It has
And
been all fun.
yeah, it really goes back to just networking. You know, you don't have to go crazy in the battles. You don't have to, you know, spend a crazy amount of money on your host. Go and network with other people's communities so that we can
Mhm.
come together and be a bigger, stronger community together.
Yes, which is exactly
Yeah.
what's happening, and I love it.
Hmm.
I mean, because
Yeah.
there's you, Dre, Jen, Savvy, John. I mean, all these different
Hmm.
people, and I love it because there are people I
Yeah.
loved individually, and now seeing all of y'all really
All of
just
us together on one
together.
screen.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Y'all are great. Y'all are doing what you've got to do for
Yeah.
yourself and your platforms, and we're here for it
Hmm.
because we still
We're just
motivate us
a
and we
big
still love you.
family out here. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I mean, because I was kind of following you before you were even doing lives because of Alyssa's room, because
Hmm.
you were mod, so I knew your
Oh
name.
yeah.
Yeah, so I would
Yes.
see you, and so I had already added you then. So and then when you started going live, I was like, okay, okay. But I haven't seen Alyssa. My TikTok is not popping her up for me anymore. I
Yeah,
told her that
she's
yesterday.
taking a break. She's
Okay,
taking a
she is
break
taking a
too.
break then. Okay.
Yeah, she'll pop up every now and then, but she's kind of focusing a lot on TikTok Shop now as well. It feels like, you know, some of these rooms just take a hit and it's hard to recover. And then, of
Yeah.
course, you know, we get discouraged and all the things. But it's like when I took a break too, because
Yes.
I felt at one point it was a lot. And I was stressed. It was making me stress out more than I was enjoying it. So I had to take a mental break from it because you know, like we said earlier, you can go to the positive side of TikTok, but if you let it consume you too much to where you're at the point that you're just questioning why you even started in the first place, or am I good enough? Maybe people don't like me, maybe this, maybe that. That's when you know you need to take a break.
Yeah.
Take a step back and, you know, take a break. So
It,
that's what I did. I took a 2 week break off when I went home and came back, and community was still there waiting. It's
yeah.
like they say, take the break that you need. We'll be right here. TikTok will be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
Um, you know, get your head right in a good headspace and come back and start
Yeah.
over, and we'll
Yeah.
be here waiting for when you're ready to come back.
Yeah. Absolutely. I would. I mean, and I did. I mean, it's just you love your people.
Yeah,
We love our people, and they become
exactly.
part of your family. Even some become friends off the
Mm-hmm.
app. And
Yeah,
I would. It's just about supporting each other. I would. We would want to be supported, so we need to support in return. It's a two.
exactly.
It's like friendships,
That's what I
relationships. It's a
say.
two-way street.
Yeah, and it's like I always tell everyone in the room, right? I'm not a full-time TikToker, but I'm really a full-time TikToker because
Yeah.
I go live, you know, in the morning, 2 to 4 hours, then I go see patients, but in between patients, I'm in somebody's live,
Oh yeah.
or I'm reposting content, or I'm commenting on somebody's things, and then I come home, I'm doing the same thing. Right before I go to bed, I'm doing the same thing. So I put a lot of time and love and hours and, you
Me
know,
too.
effort into the app outside of lives, because
Yeah.
that's what you do. It's a community. It's not a one-way street.
Yeah, that's
But the
kind of the
moment that it
main reason
does,
I had.
it's
Yeah, the main reason I
mhm,
joined the Gen Gagers because eventually like I said, I'm gonna be going live more. I'm gonna start doing like some of my podcasts, on live and different things. But
mhm,
I love the engagement, and that's another way to network for yourself. So if I'm not
right.
going live, which means I'm not as known, but if I, with Jen stuff, when you're engaging on all the different things every day, on all of the different people's contents that buy her flower power,
Mhm,
they always add you. They comment back on yours. They paid for you to
right.
comment, but it doesn't matter. Now they're going and giving it back to you. So it helps my stuff.
Mhm.
It
Yeah,
helps the
and you
growth
just
of
get to
my videos and
learn.
my content. And it's
Yeah.
great. I love engaging on people's stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
And then you just kind
how
of
you
get to
can help.
know the person through their
Yeah.
content too, especially if they don't go live.
Yes, exactly.
Hmm.
Because there's so many good people out there that don't go live, but their content's
Right.
amazing. And you
Hmm.
follow them for their content. You always want to see what they're going to post
Hmm.
next, whether it's something funny or educational or
Right.
motivating. There's so many different types of people that I follow on there that don't go live,
Yes.
whose content is just things I really look forward to seeing
Mm-hmm.
every day.
Oh, I learned a lot of things from, people that do TikTok shop that don't go live. I'm like, oh, how'd they do this? Or
Yeah.
especially like the UGC creators and stuff that know how to do the simple backdrops and record content. I'm like, wow. Yeah,
That
you
is
can
one thing I
learn.
have been wanting to look into though, is the UGK. I don't know much about
Yeah.
it, but I did want to look into
Mm-hmm.
that to do something else different for
Right.
trying to monetize, since that's what I
Yeah.
have. That's what I'm trying to do full time too, because I had to medically retire.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why my husband's like, I thought you were going to be going full time on TikTok, and kind of started slacking. So
Yeah.
because I have to, because I
Yep.
went from
Because who
having a
else is gonna
two,
do it?
exactly. And we're used to a two-person working income. Our bills are based off a two-person working income.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, I don't have an income for the first time in my entire adult life. And so it's okay, Maren, you've got to hustle. You've got to do this. Like now, you have to have your why, and you have to be consistent and committed.
Yeah.
Because I
Have
can't,
to.
and because I can't go out and get a job outside of my house. With some because of my medical stuff going on. So
Mm-hmm.
this is my opportunity. This is what you just have to take it.
Yep.
And there's
You
enough.
got to go for it.
Yeah, just
And
gotta
I
press.
always, one of the other things we say is just your why has to be stronger than your excuses. You can have
Yep,
all the excuses in the world,
yep,
but
absolutely.
Mhm.
And but I am so glad we finally got
I
this together
know. I feel like I
done.
was all over the place. Hopefully it makes sense when you put it
No,
together.
absolutely, absolutely, girl. And I am so blessed to know you as a person too, and so glad to
You
call you a
too.
friend
Thank you
because
for
you're
having
amazing.
me.
Thank you for
I
saying
appreciate you
yes,
so much.
even though you were nervous. Thank you for saying
I
yes, and
know.
thanks for sharing your story. And
You're welcome.
you
Thanks
know,
for having me.
you're a strong person for everything that you've been through. And like you
I
said,
appreciate
you
that.
always tell us to go be a shining light. Well, you're already doing that yourself. So, you
Thank you so much.
guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. And just always remember, don't just ask someone how their day is going. Ask them, how's your mental health today? That could lead you into a conversation that doesn't have to give a bullshit answer. If you say, how you doing today?
Right.
I'm going to say, okay, even if I'm not. So let's
Even if
check
you're
on
not.
each other. Yeah. Check on the ones that you think are doing the best too. Like Marissa. Check on your friends. So, you guys, thank you again. And thanks, Marissa. And we will see you guys on the next one.